Well, Richard Florida is one of the world's most influential minds when it comes to urban planning. So how do we keep them thriving, and how do we keep our cities affordable for people from all walks of life? Well, the answers are inside his latest book. It is entitled The New Urban Crisis. And Richard Florida joins me now. Richard, nice to see you.
It's great to be with you.
All right. Well, let me ask you the basic question first. What exactly is the new urban crisis?
Well, the new urban crisis is really, if the old urban crisis was the flight of the middle class to the suburbs as they moved out for opportunity and cheaper housing, the new urban crisis is really the evisceration of those middle class neighborhoods, which were our platforms for economic mobility and the platform for the Canadian dream.
All right. Housing prices, of course, running away in cities like here in Toronto, in Vancouver, of course. How do we make our major cities more affordable?
$1.5 million or so for a detached in Toronto, more than that in Vancouver. You know, Vancouver is the third most unaffordable city in the world. If you take now New York or London would be more in price, but if you take Toronto is the 9th most unaffordable city in the world. It's less affordable than New York. Look, we've got to make a commitment to build more, and we are building in this city, but it's not enough because people are pouring in. We've got to commit.
Is it just an issue of supply, though? Sorry?
No, and it's not just an issue of supply. What I was going to say. Second, we've got to build more affordable housing. You know, in this country, we've made a commitment to single-family suburban homes, and that's great for those who can afford them. But for young people here today, they need affordable rental. And the third piece of the puzzle, as we all know, Lord God, we've got to invest in transit in this city because that's the way people from, you know, and imagine a higher speed rail to Hamilton, which where many young people are going already. Better transit and higher speed rail can make the outlying areas more affordable.
Okay, let's talk about some of those cities like Hamilton, maybe Winnipeg, Regina, some of these smaller centers, Halifax. Are they in danger of seeing an increase in inequality?
Well, you know, housing prices are better in our smaller cities and metro areas, but still compared to those in the United States or in Europe, they're still expensive. So something is going on in Canada. You know, we picture ourselves as a fair and kind of decent society, but in many of our cities and metros, housing prices are rising, and our society is pulling apart as that middle falls away. So we are becoming enclaves of the affluent and the advantaged who can afford our cities, and much bigger spans of disadvantage, and you see the anger in our people and our voters.
All right. When we talk about maybe empowering or helping the middle class a little more, what do cities have to do? I know you talk in the book about Nashville, and I mean, an automatic for them, obviously, is music. That's a marriage made in heaven. Is that what cities have to do? They got to find their niche?
Well, a big city like Toronto does media, it does finance, it does entertainment. Actually, Toronto has a gazillion high-tech startups. But for smaller towns, Nashville is a great example. It focused on something other places didn't do, music. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I lived for nearly 17 years, it focused on developing self-driving cars and built a unique cluster. So I think in our country, where we've been so dependent on resources, especially in the eastern and western towns, thinking about how to use those resources from oil and energy, pour them into things and build knowledge institutions is the way to go. But also, we've got to make sure we can take care of people who might be in the middle class, who might be less advantaged, and make sure they get a go as well.
Got less than a minute here, but I wanted to ask you, I heard, is it true that the Trump election forced you to rewrite parts of this book?
I rewrote the book from top to bottom. But, you know, I saw it here first with Rob Ford. This is a backlash to the new urban crisis. As people in the outlying areas push further and further behind, are angry, they want to go. We have to help and create a more inclusive prosperity for everyone. All
right. Richard Florida, the book is The New Urban Crisis. Fascinating discussion, fascinating book. Richard, I appreciate the time. Thanks.
Thank you. Great being with you.